All right, so this is game two between me, 777, and Disrupt Banksy in Edenhorde Eclipse. This is a really fun trading card game from the Merit Circle Edenhorde community. It's still in alpha, so it's like really early, but I think a lot of the foundations makes it a really fun game to like get started with. And then there's enough of a skill to it that I think it's appropriate to create some of these replay commentaries, especially as they introduce new features, new cards, new functionality. It's good to have that base. So I'm going to go ahead and replay our second game and talk through some of the strategies and maybe like if we made some misplays or if we made some correct lines, pointing those out so that you can learn and improve in your own game. So I'm going first again. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but there is not much for me to do here. I could wait, which would give me 3 diamonds because it goes, you get 1, you get 2, then you get 3, then you get 4, so on and so forth. If you're going second, I believe it goes, you start with 2, then you get 3, then you get 4, so on and so forth. I could wait to get this Bone Strider with haste, but this card isn't really that good. It's way better with haste than without haste because it can be like a surprise board clear or just a couple extra damage that you might want to just put in the field, like if you have nothing else to do. But I would never save, especially in the early games, I would never save diamonds just to put this down, just for it to disappear off the board next turn. It disappears off the board because of this brittle ability, fated to self-destruct on executing its first attack. So when it comes to like budgeting your resources, this card is like very expensive, even though it's only 3 cost. So again, just go ahead and put the swordsman down. Most early games are going to look like that. This has haste. The archer doesn't always have haste. So it's like a mixed haste game. Archer has this ability which is range attack, so it doesn't attack the opponent's defense or hearts directly. It instead attacks the opponent's life points directly. A lot better when it has haste. Obviously, every card is a lot better when it has haste. But it's still a card like that you have to kind of pick and choose the spots to play it. And I think in this game, I may have made some incorrect decisions on when to play it, or I took some chances and it may have ended up coming to bite me in the butt. But all right, let's go ahead and see what Alberto puts down. Disrupt Banksy. Sorry, Alberto. His name is Alberto, so hopefully he's okay with that. Looks like he doesn't put anything down, so he's saving. So let's look at his hand. He's got 1 swordsman. He's got 1 vanguard, an archer, and a warden. There's no reason to save. There's no reason to save anything right now. I think next turn he gets it's either 4 or 5. We'll have to see. I gotta like take that to memory how many diamonds he gets. I want to say it's 5, but we'll double check on this. But either way, he has no clear monsters in hand except maybe the warden, which only does 1 damage next turn. The only reason why he would save this is to put either the warden down next turn or to put 2 of these 2 cost monsters down next turn or some combination of those. But if you look at like damage versus diamonds, then it just makes sense right now to put a vanguard down in an open spot so that you'll be able to attack next turn instead of waiting. You're either waiting to do 1 damage or you're waiting to do all the damage. So in this case, sorry, Disrupt, I believe you totally should have put specifically the vanguard in one of these open spots, maybe down at the end, and just started to threaten. Just like any early game, just force me or force your opponent to figure out counterplay towards you, as opposed to vice versa. Okay, so I go ahead. I don't really get anything, so I just drop a swordsman down, and I'm just going to peck at him like some little birdies. Not really much to be said here. I could have put the archer down. Again, I'm trying to save the archer for the correct time. I don't think that there's a real like game-breaking advantage of me putting down this archer at this point, so I'm just going to save it. Let's see. So he does get 5. Okay, so my original thinking was right. See, he ends up going ahead and putting the vanguard down. So like you should have just put the vanguard down last turn. He gets a battle healer, which by saving his health, he does have the ability to put the battle healer down, which is an interesting option. Like, because I'm not threatening much on the board and I've been spending diamonds, the battle healer has a strong likelihood of like surviving a turn or two. The whole time, the battle healer has this ability where for its attack, you rejuvenate that health. So getting that down in the early game like is actually pretty good because you can do this reverse runaway where you're all of a sudden increasing your life points while chipping away their life points. So the delta is still really, really big. That might have been an interesting play to make there. Regardless, he didn't make that play. And you can see he ends up putting the Vanguard down anyway, which he totally should have just done already. And by this turn, like if he put the Vanguard down, then he'd be doing 2 damage and he'd be knocking out one of my swordsmen. Still the same board state, except with 2 additional damage on me. So hopefully you're starting to understand these principles as I repeat them over time, especially in these early games. I get another Stonebreaker. I'm just going to put it down there. Like, this is not optimal, but I don't really have anything else to do in my hand. I could have just saved it and waited, right? But my thinking is he only has 2 spaces available. My thinking is if I can buy an additional turn, then I'll put the other Stonebreaker down there. So what that does is it protects against any like higher diamond monsters that he might have, because he's going to have to put him in those open spots anyway, at least within the next like 2 turns. I don't know if that was a good idea or not. I was just like, I don't really have much to do here. So like, I suppose I could have put the archer down and just continued to threaten damage. It's just a little fragile. And I kind of, again, wanted to continue to save it. So yeah, like I probably shouldn't have done that, but my thinking is like, I'm taking away the possibility for him to put down a larger attack monster in subsequent turns. And, you know, maybe that like prediction kind of buys me a turn or 2. But I don't know if that's optimal play or not, to be honest. So he just drops the swordsman in the open field. You know, lets it damage. He's got 3 left. So he definitely should have put the archer down in front of the Stonebreaker. There's absolutely no reason not to do this. He's probably going to do this next turn. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I don't know what you were thinking here. Like, the best time to put the archer down is in front of the Stonebreaker, because the Stonebreaker can't do any damage, and the archer can just continue attacking directly. So the fact that he didn't do that, like, I have no idea why you wouldn't do that. He probably realizes it next turn and does it. Yeah. But outside of that, you know, it's fine. Just attacking, that's cool. I go ahead and use the, you know, so I got another Bone Strider, right? So I go ahead and use it to knock out the thing that does the most damage. I only have 1 diamond left, so I can't put anything else down. So I'm just taking out the thing that has the most damage. And yeah, see, goes ahead and puts the archer down. So again, like, you know, a turn behind what the optimal play would have been, although his board state is a lot stronger than mine because I'm drawing pretty badly right now. And yeah, he's just got an advantage on cards that he's drawn. But he did make the right play here in putting the archer in front of the Stonebreaker. Like if you see that play, you should almost always make that play, because now I have to get rid of this Stonebreaker and I just wasted 4 diamonds for nothing. So I put the Shadow Stalker down, and then I go ahead. Okay, so this is an interesting play. Like, the bet that I'm making is that eventually I can weasel my way into having more life points than him. So putting an archer in front of another archer is just trading life points, right? It's a way to just, like, that. Those basically zero out, so the rest of the board matters. This is another tactic that you can do with an archer. Typically, you want to do this when you're up on life points. I did this behind life points because, you know, my cards, I don't have that much options. I can't have my archer being knocked out. So I'm just putting it in front of the other archer to just, like, try to keep the life points as close as possible. In the hopes that I draw out of these, like, more difficult situations. Granted, he doesn't have too much damage on the board. So I'm probably thinking, like, okay, I still got a couple turns. Like, maybe I get, like, my own warden, or I get something that can swing the trade in my favor, and then all of a sudden that archer becomes an advantage for me. But I really can't have it knocked out right now, so I just put it in front of the other archer. I think it's semi risky in this play, but in this situation, but I don't really have much other options. I suppose the other option would have been to put the Bone Strider down to knock out his archer, and then follow up with my own archer. That would be one way of doing it. Oh, no, I can't knock out it because it's locked. Yeah, so I'm not going to waste a Bone Strider on killing a swordsman. Like, it's yeah, I think that this was probably the only play I had. So he just goes ahead and just attacks forward. In this situation, I would have probably dropped the battle healer down. That will like, yeah, I would have got rid of one of these swordsmen and just dropped the battle healer down. I think like just continuing to do damage on the board is probably fine, especially given that I only have two cards. But you never know how things can swing, and putting the battle healer down like definitely increases like his win conditions, or it just makes it more difficult for me to find win conditions because he'll be healing. It has a lot more health, things of that nature. Whereas like if I get a warden, it's possible that I can knock both of these swordsmen out within a couple turns, which would change the board state a lot. So I would definitely put the battle healer down there. It's still not looking good for me, so just because you think you're in a strong position doesn't mean that you still shouldn't be like opting to make the most optimal plays. I'm not assuming that that's what Disrupt did, but it's always something to keep in mind is this game can have huge swings, or situations where you're stuck at the end with one, like the last game where you're stuck with one life point, and I've developed a long-term board position plan that ends up winning me the game. So I would have definitely put this battle healer down there. I get another bone shredder, so I just got nothing. So this is not going to be good. But, I go ahead and, clear most of the board. I'm down 4 points. This isn't a good position, but you see how the board state is starting to redevelop in my favor. Like, now that I know the cards in his hand, like, this is very winnable for me, depending on if I draw good or not. But, like, if I drew a Berserker or if I drew a Blood Fury or things like that, this game could swing back into my favor. And that's because I continue to try to just get the maximum value out of my cards that I'm playing. If that battle healer was down, then this would have attacked directly. I probably wouldn't have put it down in the first place, but I probably would have knocked out one of these swordsmen, and he would have this battle healer ready to just start healing the next turn. And he has so many diamonds, like, I think he should have put the battle healer down last turn. But I basically just did what I could. Knocked out one of his guys, used the Shadow Stalker to knock out the Warden, and continue to threaten damage with the Archer. He gets the Archmage, drops it. I don't know. Like, I would have put the battle healer down. Like, definitely getting the battle healer down early. I mean, he's going to threaten. Like, he's very, very far ahead right now. I don't think that there's much I can do to win this game. But even still, putting that battle healer down, like, just think about how many life points would have been saved if he put it down like 2 or 3 turns ago. Like, he would be up. The delta would be far more. But outside of that, like, it's fine. Shadow Sucker's got 3 health. So, like, either one of these, it's not really gonna matter. Probably should have put the Archmage in front of the Shadow Stalker. The reason being is because it'll go back into the hand once the Shadow Stalker knocks it out, whereas this is going to get discarded. So actually, yeah, definitely should have put the Archmage in front of the Shadow Stalker. So it returns, does 2 damage. Shadow Stalker then knocks it out. It goes back in the hand. You have another card to play with. Whereas by putting the Vanguard down, once the Shadow, like, it's going to do 2 damage, I'll have 1 left, then I'll knock it out. Vanguard's gone. So those should have been reversed. But still he's in a significant lead right now. So it depends on what cards I draw if I can actually do anything. And then I get a Swordsman. So I got nothing. Slap those down. Got to take out the Archer because I just can't withstand any more damage. And again, this is me knowing I'm going to go down to 1 damage. And then, like, I just pray I get a card. Probably should have done that sooner, to be honest. Not getting the cards that I needed. Like, this is very much draw dependent on what I get. So yeah, I guess I could have went ahead and knocked out one of those archers sooner. Probably would have helped me a little bit. It's hard to say because I wanted to continue that damage, but it didn't end up being worth it because that delta is so big. So yeah, I think I should have just went ahead and knocked out that archer sooner, or I should have not put my archer in front of his archer in the first place, and just waited to knock it out immediately, and then just took the 2 damage and went from there. I get a Stonebreaker. It's not enough because I needed haste, so I lose the game. Yeah, and he ends up running away with it. So He goes ahead for the win. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so overall he won. Like, I don't think I drew very good cards. I think like a decision to be made there was like I probably should have saved the Stonebreakers, right? Because then I'd have them now in this point in the game, which could have been defending some of these larger attackers. But instead I tried to like predict, so that was like a bad prediction on my part. And then I should have knocked out the Archer sooner. Maybe those decisions would have like made this game closer. I do think Alberto drew better than me in this one. He had some like minor things that could have changed, but overall, like in principle, he was doing the right thing by continuing to apply pressure and making sure that like he was just doing more damage than me, which is ultimately what wins you the game. I think that there was some optimal plays that I covered, or suboptimal plays that I covered that could have been more optimal. That if the game would have got closer, would have ended up mattering. But overall, he whipped my ass in this one. So good job, Disrupt Banksy. And then let's go to game 3.